Welcome to the Black Girl Burnout podcast. Kelley here. And it is officially 2025, and we are kicking off our special month of activity called New Year Healed Me. This episode is going to be breaking down what's to come in the next 30 days, how we are best going to utilize this month, what the podcast has in store, the amazing guests that I have coming on this month. And we're going to talk about our top 3 intentions for this year, really, as well as what you can do at home by yourself to figure out what your top 3 intentions are, why you've chosen them, and how you're going to apply little bits of them in each day. The goal of New Year Healed Me is in the title. It is a rejection of New Year's resolutions and these kinds of, I feel, oppressive rules we make for ourselves. Every year we walk into the new year like, new year, new me. And how long does that really last? One, it's hard to keep really ridiculous, high bar resolutions. But the second reason is because maybe we don't need to be a new version of ourselves. I've been really conscientious about unpacking language and the things that I use. And for me, it's been a lot about thinking, what does that mean to be a new version of myself? Maybe we need to get out of that glorification of busyness, that perfection trap where we're always trying to reinvent and improve and make better, and to the point where we can't actually just enjoy our lives. So maybe it's not a new version of yourself. Maybe actually you want to take with you all the lessons you've learned at whatever year you find yourself on this planet and put them into practice. Maybe what you want to is to be a more healed, a more healthy version of yourself, not a new. And that's the thought behind the theme of the New Year Healed Me. Ultimately, it's a call for myself always and to all of you beautiful Black women who listen to this podcast to put down the need to redo everything and instead think about ways you can be the best version of you, the most healed version. And to help you with that, we have a special month of some exceptional programming. I want to tell you how excited I am. We've got a little bit of rebranding happening, a new look for the podcast, you may have noticed. We have all kinds of different new opportunities and guided questions that I want you to think about. This month is different. I wanted this month to be like a standalone month that will set you up for this year, for the next 10 years, for your life. So I thought to myself, what do you actually need to be the most healed version of yourself? And I thought about everything from intention setting, which we're going to do today, to aesthetics, which we're going to talk about in the coming weeks, about hair care and personal style. We're going to talk about budgeting, how to make your first trade. We're going to talk about relationships. We're going to dig into the different areas of life that you need to be the most healed version of yourself, whether it's joyful movement, to a good shampoo, to figuring out estate planning and protecting yourself and your legacy. Whatever that is, and all the things that make that up, that is the New Year Healed Me. That is where we're going, and that is what we're doing. And so every episode this month, usually most of the time we'll have a guest. That's the starting point, but it will also prompt you to do something right away. It was really important to me that I make this month actionable, that I make it so that it's not just we're talking about being a better person or having a budget. There's nothing I'm going to probably tell you that you haven't heard before as far as topics and themes. Knowing to take care of your body, knowing to have healthy relationships, knowing to set boundaries, knowing to set intentions or create a vision board. There's nothing radical necessarily about that. But I don't want it to just be a conversation. So each episode is going to have a prompt. And my challenge to you is to one, show up, listen to the episodes, save them, come back to them, but do the prompts that are being asked of you. Every single episode is going to close with an action step. And so it's your goal and responsibility to do it. I promise you, if you do these action steps, it will be worth it. It's just about figuring out how you want to show up and how you want to start taking tiny steps to being the most healed version of yourself. Also, If you are listening to this podcast versus visually seeing it, you are missing another element. This is the first time, and trust me, I am feeling all kinds of awkward doing it. I am recording myself talking to camera. So you will also see a playlist on YouTube that's called New Year Healed Me, where every single episode that's been recorded will be collected there. You can grab them, replay them. To do that, you have to subscribe to the pod. You have to do that, excuse me. You have to subscribe to be on YouTube. So make sure you do that. Make sure you are able to participate fully. Make sure you're able to participate fully. Last but not least, I am giving you a companion guide to New Year Healed Me. That means it's a special workbook. If you sign up to our newsletter, you're going to get it. That will give you a space, like a little journal, to keep your thoughts and reflection and to keep your thoughts, reflections, and action steps all in one spot. So throughout the year, you can keep going back to that New Year Healed Me workbook to really remember, what did I say I was going to do? Did I do my first trade? Have I made that call to find out about setting up estate planning? Have I picked up a new statement piece for my style and telling the story about who I am through the clothing I wear? All of those things are going to be in there. Also in there is going to be some special codes we have with partners to give yourself a discount, different ways. We are giving you little gifts to help motivate you and make this year truly the best one. Even if you feel a little unsure, a little nervous, maybe you've had a hard 2024. This month is it. So please, my request of you is tell your friends. Tell your friends, tell family members. One of the things I love the most about this podcast is it's becoming really clear that while we may have a core age group audience, so many of you are listening to this podcast across generations. You are listening to this podcast from different places in your life, whether you're still in college or you're retired, that the messaging is resonating, that need to opt out of struggle, the need to kind of move forward with a radical and assertive pursuit of joy. This is your language. And to that, I want to make sure that as many people as possible are able to show up to get this information. Okay. So let's dive into New Year Healed Me and how I'm doing it. And I'm going to leave you an action step and an exercise for you to take and move forward and really start this month with the best of intentions, the best energy, and thinking about it in a way that'll make sure that you are going to make January amazing, February amazing, and every other month afterward. Now, for me, New Year Healed Me takes on a lot of different meaning. 2024 put me through the ringer. And if you've been listening to the podcast the last year, you will know that. I won't rehash it again, but let's just say it was honestly the worst year of my life. And it ended and culminated in the passing of my father. It has brought so many challenges I didn't foresee, some I did. Every area of my life felt like it was a bit of a strain. Fortunately, I have to say, I still found pockets of joy and gratitude, and I ended the year in a place of genuine relief, yes, but appreciation for so many things that I got to spend the year with my father. Not in maybe the best of circumstances, but in the ones that mattered. I had a lot of quality time. And while my health took some hits this year as well, I also got a call to figure out my boundaries, to show up better. I got to spend some great time with friends, some really quality time with them. I got to see some incredible concerts. 2024 was a challenge, but it had high moments. However, we're talking about 2025, and there were some promises I made to myself as I crossed over into the new year, which is that I don't want another 2024. I want 2025 to feel different, to be different. And while some of those things were completely out of my control, I can't control if my parents got sick, both of them at the same time, but I can control how I show up. And that I'm going to carve space now that I can for some healing. This year for me really is about healing. It's about reclaiming the parts of myself I feel got a little lost along the way. And it's also about me finding more joy, and living a very rich life. And to that end, I want to share with you my intentions that I have for the year. And as I go through how I'm doing this exercise, how I'm setting up my intentions, I hope it's a call for you to do the same with your life. So I have three, like I said, for the year. And the first one is to bring more gentleness into my life. Again, I'm not doing resolutions. I want to be clear. I am doing intentions. And my intention is for more gentleness, more softness. The way I want to do that is I want to introduce more rest and recovery. Part of healing for me is not just setting a financial goal or recovering from a bad year. Part of it is actually about finding out how to create healed spaces, healed energy within myself, healed connections, healed community. I want to be able to feel that 360 healing that we're going to talk about this month. And part of that means that I just don't want to go so hard. I don't want to do so much. I don't want to feel like I have to go, go, go. I don't want to feel like I have to chase money. I want to feel gentle. I want to be gentle. I want to really be connected and present. And so for me, intention number one is gentleness. Intention number two is rich. I want a rich 2025. And I want a holistic rich. Yes, I want financial abundance. One, because this last year wasn't that great for me financially. It wasn't terrible, but it wasn't great. And I need more, frankly, more money. But not only do I just need more money, I don't want to be just rich in my bank account. I want to have a rich life. I want to do more fun experiences and carve out more time, more concerts, more laughter. I want a life that looks rich all the way around. So I'm setting an intention to have a rich 2025. My last kind of goal for myself is specifically around the podcast. I want to have a sustainable 2025. As you know, who've been listening to this podcast for years, there are a lot of episodes. I write all of the episodes. I independently fund this podcast with my money. I have created, I think, like 370. I've lost track of how many episodes I've created. That has been joyful to write, but I also need to realize that is that sustainable? So this year I'm going to think about sustainability in all areas of my life, but specifically for the podcast. And don't worry, that means more goodness is coming to you, but it also means for the first time I'm really thinking about myself and what I need to do to stay joyful. I feel joyful about this podcast. I love this podcast. It's not going anywhere. But how I do the podcast, it has to change for it to be sustainable. How I show up, what other ways I want to connect with you, including showing up visually for you all in a way that feels like we're expanding and also foundationally making sure we're solid for the podcast. I don't want this podcast to go away, but I need to be honest about the fact that I have been in so many ways considering a lot of factors on how I do the podcast and how I show up and how many episodes and all these things. But I will tell you the one factor I didn't consider is myself. And that made me really pause that I'm out here doing a podcast about burnout and a podcast about abundance and joy and taking care of yourself and setting boundaries. And then I realized I am the last person I think about when I do this podcast. It doesn't matter if I lose sleep, or it doesn't matter if it's like I'm doing something that could be done better in a different way. I don't really think about myself. And so for me, one of the joys has been rediscovering all the ways I can show up and all the ways that I need to do little tweaks here and there. More to come on that, but in the meantime, it's just going to equal a lot more goodness for you all. Some things may change a bit, but what isn't going to change is my commitment to all of you. So those are my three intentions and really three words for the year. I want a year that's gentle. I want a year that's rich. And I want a year that's sustainable, that feels nourishing and like I feel solid. That's what I'm setting up. And so for you, I want you to take today, this beginning of the year, and I want you to think about, what do I want my new year to be like? What kinds of words do I want to represent the year? I don't know what it could be. Maybe it's joy or love. I have more. I could tell you in another episode. I also worked it out to like there's some R's, richness, reciprocity, repose, and rest. Like I thought a lot of that as well. But what are three words that come to your mind? Don't leave this episode without taking out that companion guidebook and writing them in. And then, just like I did, tell yourself why. Explain why. Why do I want this year to be a year of love? Why is that the word that's coming out to me? Why do I want this to be a year of miracles or community or connection or growth? Really challenge yourself to write down the why. In the next episode, we're going to talk about how to start to make those words an action plan, how to show up and ensure that you are going to live a life that matches the intentions. Welcome to New Year Healed Me, and I will see you in the next episode.